Hey there, and welcome back to the podcast. I'm so glad you're here, so excited, because today I want to share with you the difference between being a manager and being a true leader and someone who literally trusts and gets the most optimum performance from every one of your team members. And I'm going to present a framework, a template, if you will, on how you do just that, because it's all about accountability. It's all about getting the most performance and giving people a voice and making them feel like they are part of a true company culture. This isn't about your mission statement. This is about creating a powerful culture within your business, because that just leads to longevity, lower turnover, and happy people, strong, uplifted morale. So you're not going to want to miss this episode. Stay tuned. Your restaurant team is the foundation of your business and most important asset. I know from experience that a happy team is a productive team that deliver great guest service experiences. Morale is the key. Check out myemployees.com/hospitality. My Employees offers impactful, consistent, and most of all, appreciated recognition programs that boost morale, reduce turnover, and drive guest satisfaction. My Employees is the industry benchmark, helping thousands of hospitality leaders build winning teams. Go to myemployees.com/hospitality. Listen, what would it feel like to lower your operating costs, double your sales, lower staff turnover, create raving fans, and design a menu that literally prints money? Our online restaurant training system will teach you and your staff to rock your restaurant and transform your business. Head on over to restaurantrockstars.com. It'll take you less than 5 minutes to get started. You've got this. Hey, it's Roger back at you. One of the most important and foundational things to think about in your business is leadership and a succession plan forward. Especially if you want to spend less time at your restaurant, it's so important to recognize talent, move people up, and trust and empower. So when I talk about leadership, I'm not talking about management. Now, just because someone holds the title of manager, or you promote someone to be a manager, or you're a manager yourself, doesn't mean that you're experienced or that you're competent to lead or that you motivate and inspire others to top performance. Maybe that's the case. But if it is the case, don't think of yourself as a manager. Think of yourself as a leader. But if this is a challenge in your business, I want to tell you the difference, okay? I want to talk all about leadership. Now, there is an old way where the manager was the boss in the business, someone who might bark orders and tell people what to do, and that's delegation. And it's a figurehead, or it was a figurehead, and things have changed so much. So that's literally the old way. Leadership is entirely different. Leadership is being part of the team and recognizing talent in others and encouraging and developing that talent and giving people room to make mistakes. And a boss would criticize. A leader critiques. And that's a difference. Critiquing is giving someone some feedback on their performance and showing them how they could be achieving something and how to get there. Okay, so that's very important also. And then recognizing the achievement and incentivizing that person for doing so. I don't like the word delegation because anyone can tell someone what to do and even how to do it. I like the word empowerment. Empowerment means you trust others. You recognize that they're going to use good judgment and they don't want to let you down. And sure, there's a little bit of training involved sometimes, but some people just want to take on additional responsibility. Know that it doesn't matter if someone doesn't want to move up in your organization. Not everybody wants additional responsibility. You might have a stellar line cook or a stellar dishwasher, and they just love what they do, and that's okay. But just know that there's lots of people in your business that will leave, will go thinking the grass is greener on the other side, and will leave because you didn't find them additional things that gave them confidence, that moved them up in the organization, gave them opportunities to make more money, okay? So empowered people become what I call intrapreneurs. I love the word intrapreneur. Now let's go back. Everyone knows what an entrepreneur is. Perhaps you're an entrepreneur yourself. You took a big risk to start a business in the hope and faith that you would make a profit. That's an entrepreneur. An intrapreneur is someone who applies that approach to your business, even though they just work there. They don't have an ownership stake in it, but they take ownership interest in your business to move it forward, to grow it. And when you find people like that, you need to reward them and incentivize them and bonus them on that responsibility if it grows your business. Now, in my restaurants, I had lots of intrapreneurs, and I called everyone a leader. I had a kitchen leader. I had a dining room leader. I had a bar leader. They weren't managers. They were intrapreneurs, all growing that different area of my business, and they were all incentivized to move the needle forward, whether that's cutting costs, increasing sales, elevating guest service, increasing profits. These are all ways that they move the needle. And that became a really turnover lowerer, okay? It created longevity in my business where I had people that worked for me for literally 18 years, 17 years, 16 years. It was remarkable. I had a 96% retention rate because what we called a company culture. Now, I'm going to get into that in a moment, but longevity is important. You don't want to lose these great people to another employer because you're not giving them the opportunities. But once you have intrapreneurs in your business, do you know what freedom that gives you? It's an exit strategy. And I know that word means different things to different people. Maybe you want to sell your business someday. Maybe you want to start a franchise or open another business, even in a different industry. Maybe you just want to spend more time with family and friends. That is an exit strategy. If you've got people that got your back, they've got your back, and they're going to run that place as if they owned it and had to pay for it. Now, that is a super powerful idea. Let's talk about mission versus culture. I've worked in jobs before. Long before I started my restaurants, I had jobs. And in some companies, there's this mission statement that hangs on the wall. And sometimes it's framed and it's crooked or the glass is broken. And nobody pays any attention. Nobody cares about your mission. What people care about is your culture. Do you have a company culture in your business? Now, if you were to ask your team, what's our culture? And if you just randomly ask them or to write it down or stick it in a box on the corner, suggestion box, whatever, would there be a common thread where people feel a certain spirit? It's an aura, it's an image, it's a chemistry of working together with certain people and everyone pulling together in a common goal that feels right to them. It feels like family. My culture was hospitality, family, and fun because hospitality, of course, is the foundation of our business. I wanted everyone to feel like family. I wanted the team to feel like family. I wanted my guests to feel like family. And of course, I wanted everyone to have more fun. So that was my culture, but it was really about team spirit. It was about strong morale. And one of the reasons why we had that 96% retention rate. So that was really huge for me also. So it wasn't about a mission statement that no one cared about. It was really about a culture. And that's something that, it's not something created. It's something that you can create it if you create an environment where people feel that team spirit and morale. But it really takes the people that work for you, outstanding people, to build that culture. Okay, fix what's broken. Now, there are lots of things in your business that you might miss. There are people working in the trenches every single day in every single job, and they can see things that can improve your business. But if you don't ask them, then you might never hear about it because they're not paid to give you ideas. And very few organizations encourage people's opinions and ideas. In my restaurants, I always wanted everyone to know that their opinion mattered. And if they had a better way of doing things, I was all ears. We even had a regular brainstorming session every month or every couple of months where people were encouraged to share ideas, and I would incentivize them if we could track the performance of those ideas, whether it saved money or it increased our sales, impacted the bottom line in a positive way. This was part of our culture. We encouraged people because we knew that they had talents. We knew that they had a set of eyes and that they could see things. And we asked them for those opinions. We also wanted to ask them what would make your job easier, more productive, or happier. And if you don't ask, you don't get, okay? So it's really important to give people a voice and let them know that voice matters, okay? I was traveling for the last couple of years, and I continue to travel, and I speak at food shows across the country. And I came across a restaurant that had this MMDD board or box or whatever. And I'm like, what's MMDD? I didn't invent this, but I thought it was great. And MMDD stands for Made My Day Difficult. And they encouraged every team member at the end of every shift, if you've got a gripe or a complaint or something that made things not work so well, drop it in the box. You can put your name on it if you want to. We can discuss it if you want to, or just put it in like it's a suggestion. And boy, isn't that an awesome idea to really fix what's broken. So I thought that was genius. MMDD made my day difficult. All right. Accountability is vitally important to be a leader. Now, when I travel, restaurants ask me all the time, why don't my people show up on time? Why is their performance inconsistent? Sometimes they're great and sometimes I can't rely on them at all. And then I ask them, have you set clear expectations and do you have accountability? And they say, how do I do that? And I'm like, do you have career descriptions? Career descriptions? You mean job descriptions? And I'm like, no, I never called it a job description because I didn't want my people to think of what they were doing as just a job. Again, I wanted to empower people. I wanted them to grow with me. I wanted to give them additional responsibility and let them move up in my company. And I bought several restaurants, and some of my people would become kitchen leaders and dining room leaders and bar leaders in other restaurants and all this kind of stuff, okay? So essentially, I called it a career description. Now I'm going to tell you what my template is. There are 3 parts of a key, very powerful career description, and it's different for every job. But you, as the owner of your business or as a leader in your business, you have a really good idea of what you expect in every single job, as if you did it yourself, right? That's really important. So at the very top, I always had key success factors. Okay, key success factors is a list of words or even a phrase or two about what you expect someone to bring to the table to this particular job, position, forget the word job, the position, in order to be super successful. Now, if you hire or recruit somebody new in the door and they have no experience, then sure, there's going to be some training involved, but this is what you expect them to bring to the table to be successful. Series of words or phrases. It might be eyes wide open. It might be hustle. It might be attention to detail. It might be accurate cash handling. Doesn't matter. It's different for every position. But then the meat of a career description is primary responsibilities. So you as the owner or leader know what you expect. And it might be 5 line items. It might be 10. Again, it varies by position. Next to that, here's the accountability piece. I always had a blank line next to each of these primary responsibilities. And why were they there? I would sit down with a new recruit. I like the word recruiting because anybody can hire. Recruiting is really bringing in the best people. I'd sit down with someone new, and after they've been trained, if they needed training, I would read them line by line. They would have a copy. I would have a copy. They'd read along, but I would literally read to them. Now, these are the primary responsibilities in this position. I would ask them 2 questions for every one. Do you understand what I expect with this responsibility? And 2, can and will you do it to the best of your ability? And then if they said yes, I would ask them to initial that blank line next to that responsibility. And then I would have a list of little blank lines next to the responsibilities, all with an initialed sign off. There's the accountability, right? Because when you're an expert and you know what you expect in a given position in a restaurant, and somebody says they can do A and they end up doing B 2 or 3 weeks later, their performance is okay, and then all of a sudden something deviates and goes sideways. There's the accountability. Now, in private, you bring them aside and you sit them down, and instead of being the boss the old way, the manager saying, get out there and do it the right way, I would always throw the ball in that person's court and say, what can you do to get back on track? You said you could do this. I'm seeing you do that. What can and will you do to get your performance back on track to meet that expectation? And then I'd sit back and I'd wait for the answer. And then they know that they have to tell me how they're going to correct their performance. And then in the minute they walk out of my office, they need to change and correct the behavior because they don't want to be called on the carpet again. And that was, again, that word accountability. Lastly is where can they go? If they do a stellar job on all those primary responsibilities over a period of time, what's the next step in their career with you on the career description? Where can they go? What additional responsibility can they take on if they want to move up? And again, I said not everyone wants to move up, but this is for most people that have ambition and show initiative. If they do a stellar job, what's the next step for them? And 2, what's in it for them? Is it a bonus? Is it an incentive? Yeah, that's what you got to figure out. But that is a really powerful thing. Restaurants sell tons of fried food, and your customers love it. But the hassles, hazards, and mess of fryer oil, cleaning hoods, and all that grease, well, you can forget all that with Restaurant Technologies. They deliver your oil, filter it, monitor usage, collect and recycle your waste cooking oil. Their AutoMist system automates your hood and flue cleaning, eliminating the fire risk. As a restaurant technologies customer, you'll also save 10 to 15% in your insurance premiums. Plus, get a bonus for new customer referrals. Get started at rti-inc.com or call 866-399-3639. Lily's Fresh Pasta refuses to compromise on quality. This family-owned business, built on time-honored traditions passed down from Lily to her son Antonio, lives on with every batch. Lily's Fresh Pasta is made to European standards using 100% non-GMO, glyphosate-free Italian unbleached wheat. Lily's is served in the finest restaurants in America. I've had Lily's Fresh Pasta many times, and I can tell you it's always molto buono. Elevate your menu. Serve Lily's Fresh Pasta in your restaurant. Ask your local food service representative or call Antonio directly at 603-818-2100 and be sure to follow Lily's on Instagram at Lily's Fresh Pasta. Okay, that's the accountability piece from a career description. Disciplinary procedure is so important. Accurate records, record keeping on every team member. Now, I don't care if it's an old-fashioned file cabinet in the corner or in the cloud on your computer, but you need to keep accurate records of anything that they do great and anything that deviates from performance or any consequence to a situation. Now, disciplinary procedures include two different types of infractions. You've got a minor infraction or you've got a major infraction. Now, minor might be showing up late for a shift or routinely calling out, okay, or not knowing the menus inside and out. You ask them questions or they're routinely not passing their quizzes. I always quizzed my people on product knowledge because it was so important to salesmanship, but you get the idea. Those are minor infractions. And there need to be consequences for any infraction. There need to be write-ups, and you need to accurately document everything, every reason for the write-up, okay? Or termination, because if you don't have accurate notes, it's a real big deal, because if the labor board calls you in, and it's kind of like a trial, right? You've got the employee there, and they're pleading their case, and you're the employer, chances are you're going to lose unless you've got something documented every step of the way, okay, regardless of what your disciplinary procedure was, the consequences, the write-ups, the sign-offs, agreeing that, okay, I did this and I won't do it again. You get the idea. So that's super, super important. So records are vital. The reason for the write-up and what the consequences are. A major infraction is probably something like bullying or harassment of some kind, or drug or alcohol use on the property. These are possibly reasons for immediate termination. You have to decide. But again, the most important thing with any of this is being fair and impartial and not showing favoritism. And yes, you're going to have these great stellar A players, and they're going to be recognized and rewarded, but that's fair. But you cannot be impartial and unfair to people. You need to be rock solid steady, okay, and make sure that what's good for this one is good for that one and vice versa. So that's disciplinary procedure. That's super important. There are lots of ways that somebody can move up in your organization, take on additional responsibility, and earn some type of incentive or a bonus for doing so. Maybe they could establish a takeout business for you, or increase takeout sales, or start a delivery service. Instead of the Ubers or the Grubhubs of the world that take a percentage of your money, maybe you start your own delivery service. I did for almost 20 years. I delivered. My companies delivered. All my restaurants delivered within a 3-mile radius of my restaurants. And we controlled the delivery. Okay, that was important. Maybe they start a catering side to your business, or you hire someone to bring in private parties, or you give them that authority so they can earn extra cash, a piece of the pie, as it were, if they were to bring in private events and parties during non-busy hours that don't conflict with your dining room service. If you've got a conference room, if you've got a special meeting room, you get the idea. It's a big part of a lot of people's businesses. Starting a retail merchandise program is super powerful. You can sell so much branded merchandise and people will pay you to wear your stuff around with your logo around town, around the world. You get the idea. And it's very lucrative, and it's free marketing that pays you. So maybe you incentivize someone to start a retail program, all right? There's a restaurant on Martha's Vineyard, and I love telling this story. It's called the Black Dog. You might have heard of it. And not only did they have one single location, and it was simply a powerful black Labrador Retriever logo with the name of the business, the Black Dog, and the year it was established, but they sold zillions and zillions of hoodies and sweatshirts and t-shirts and hats just with that simple logo on it. So much so that now they have retail stores across the country just advertising that one business and selling that logo merchandise with the black Labrador Retriever on it, and it's a multi-million-dollar business. Now, I'm not suggesting you'll be that successful, but you could be. I know my business probably sold about $30,000 on certain months just selling t-shirts and hats and hoodies and all this stuff. And you can put your logo on just about anything. And make sure that if you do incentivize someone to start a program, that it's not just about bringing in a design and seeing if it sells. It's about merchandising. It's about promoting. It's about creating a retail area that's highly visible for guests coming in the door and going out the door. They might even take it so far as to putting it up online on your website and then selling merchandise via online and shipping the merchandise out. There's no end to what you can do. So it's an opportunity. Mug Club, I've talked about this numerous times. If you sell draft beer, or if you have a coffee shop, you can sell highly lucrative memberships to this club just by giving people VIP service. I can teach you how to do all of this. But again, you can empower your bar leader or your dining room leader, anybody in your business, to start a Mug Club. And we can show you how to do that. I always incentivized my leaders for keeping my costs in what I called my sweet spot. My food costs, my beverage cost, and especially my labor cost. If they could keep it rock solid all the time, and that's through efficient ordering and no waste or spoilage or theft or any of that kind of stuff, running a really tight ship, I used to incentivize my leaders to do that. So these are all just a bunch of ideas that will help you build intrapreneurs in your business. But again, it's part of your culture. It's how you train them. It's how you lead by example. And it's how you recognize people and give them opportunities in your business. All right. Recognition and rewards is something that should touch every part of your restaurant or every part of your business. You want every team member to be recognized in some way, or at least take part, because this up-levels your culture and your team spirit and your morale, okay? I'm going to tell you about a simple program that I had. It was called Difference Dollars. You might have heard about it before on any other podcasts I've done, but it's just simply recognizing somebody for going above and beyond the normal scope of a job. All right, you gather everyone in the team, you give them an award, an incentive of some sort, and I could go into great detail about how powerful this promotion was and this program for my team and how they looked forward to it and all the contests we did and the incentives and all that kind of stuff. But you want to involve people. You want people to feel like they're part of something bigger than themselves, and that they're not only does their voice matter, but they can contribute to the greater good. And that's team spirit and team culture. So Difference Dollars was super powerful. We also used to get prizes from our suppliers. Just know that you do business with a lot of different suppliers in your bar and restaurant, and that these suppliers do business with a lot of bigger suppliers than themselves. They, chances are, get merchandise from all these bigger suppliers that they use for incentives for their own employees. And I remember years and years ago having a meeting. It was probably a liquor distributor, a beer distributor, or whatnot, and there was all this valuable merchandise in a conference room that we walked by, and I just happened to ask, what is that? And they're like, oh yeah, we get all this stuff and we award it for top employee performers. And I'm like, why is all that stuff sitting there? We get more stuff than we can give away, and we can't just give it away unless somebody earns it. So a lot of this stuff ends up collecting dust in the warehouse. That's all I needed to hear. And then again, you don't ask, you don't get. And I just suddenly realized, I've been doing business with you for years, and I spend lots of money with you every year. Can I have any of that stuff? I'd love to start an employee recognition program. The next day with my delivery, everything that was on that table came in the back door. And I know I've told this story before, but I had to clear out a supply closet just to keep it all. But how gratifying to have all this valuable merchandise. We're talking about neon signs, liquor this, beer that, nice wearable clothing items. There were even some sporting goods in there and some electronics and some really valuable stuff. And I could just give it to people when I recognized them going above and beyond. And it was always so gratifying whenever I had a new employee. Maybe it was a guy in the dish pit. He's a new dishwasher, and he's been there all of a couple of hours, and he's really hustling, and the steam's flying around, and he's sweating, but he's really hustling. And I just walk up to them, I introduce myself and say, hey, I'm Roger. Thanks so much for working here. Hey, let's go take a trip to the closet. And all of a sudden it's like, what? Whoa. And they get a little squirrely, but it was gratifying to open the door and say, you know what? I really appreciate your effort and your approach to your position. And I hope you keep it up, but why don't you pick out something nice for yourself? I'm like, what, really? Yeah, you can take it home with you, whatever you like. And that was a morale builder. That was team building. That was morale. That was really awesome. So difference dollars was very simple. You can do your own spin on that, a variation. The prizes was a great idea. We used to give away movie tickets and gift cards to different businesses. I used to trade other non-restaurant businesses. Hey, if I give you $20, $25 gift cards to my restaurants, will you give me $20, $25 gift cards to your business? And we would just trade. And you know that it's just pennies on the dollar. For me, my food cost was like 28% rock solid because, again, I incentivized my kitchen leader to keep my food cost in the sweet spot. So I knew that anytime I gave something away, it was literally 28 cents cost, not a dollar cost. And I would collect all these gift cards, and now I could use those for employee incentives. So that's just smart. You can also trade for services, trade gift cards for services, trade in your restaurant for everything you can because it's just, again, pennies on the dollar, and it's just smart. Let's go back to the career description because I believe it's really important that every 6 months, every person in your business, regardless of their position, get a performance review. Again, people want to know how they're doing. People want to know that they're contributing to the organization. And again, it increases longevity and lowers turnover. But it doesn't have to be that difficult because remember, I told you that you need to keep very accurate records. And if you do, if you have someone, whether it's you or one of your leaders, who has people below them they're in charge of, and they write up anytime something is a consequence or they did a fantastic job or they were recognized with sales difference dollars or whatever it was, just document. So now you got a folder full of information on every team member. And then you go back to the career description. And then because, again, you're the expert in every job. Did they do a stellar job on every one of those primary responsibilities? You go back and you revisit that list of primary responsibilities. And then you simply assign a grade as if they were in school from like A to C. You can even use D's if you want, if they're really doing a bad job. But hopefully with this culture we've just created, you're only going to see A's and B's. And then you grade them, and then you sit down and you go over line by line what they did well. You write up a little paragraph, a couple of sentences for each responsibility on what you've noticed and what they've done really well. And then if there are areas for improvement, of course, you got to let them know. But overall, if they get a really great, if they excel at those primary responsibilities, where are they going to go next? Hopefully you've kept this in mind. And this is about recognizing talent with your people and showing them, if you do a great job, here's where this can lead to. And then finally, what's the incentive? What's in it for that person for taking that on? So that's leadership to me. It's not management. It's not delegation, it's leadership and empowerment. Now, everything I talked about today is literally a template, a course in the Restaurant Academy, something you can follow and put in place in your business. We have all the templates for the career descriptions of most every position in a restaurant, the performance review, the mug club. It's like everything I talked about is literally in the Academy. And it's right there waiting for you at restaurantrockstars.com. Thanks for listening. Can't wait to see you in the next episode. Thank you to our sponsors this week. And thanks to our audience. We appreciate it. If you like what you're hearing, please leave us a review on any of your favorite podcast players. It will help other restaurant leaders and owners and hospitality professionals find us because we're all about helping improve your business. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening to the Restaurant Rockstars podcast. For lots of great resources, head over to restaurantrockstars.com. See you next time.